Hey there, fellow Prog Noggins. Dave here. You are on Bleeding Edge. Thanks for joining me. Hey, I've been doing this thing for the past month or so of taking a little time to go to Prog Magazine's website, check out their cool new proggy tracks of the week. It's actually something I have tended to do on my own anyway, because it's a great way to find out what's new, what's hot, what's interesting, figure out what I want to look into in the future, and maybe add to the rotation on The Expanse, my live 365 channel, if you want to check that out sometime. But meanwhile, it's just a little fun thing to do. I've been testing it out, been getting pretty good response from it. Seems folks do enjoy it a little bit as their way to get introduced to some new music. So what I do is I give each song, and there's 7 of them this week, usually 6 or 7. I give each song about a minute, minute and a half to listen to the intro, see which one tickles my fancy the most and which one I like the best. And then as part of their little article, they've got a voting thing where you can vote for your favorite, and I vote along, but the one I pick is the one I'm going to do a full music reaction to and see what I think of the entire song. So I don't have time to do all of them at once for you all, and so I'm going to do just one of them, and whichever one happens to be the one that interests me the most at the end. So let's get started with this. Slap the headphones on and see what they have for us this week. As I mentioned, there are 7. And the first one they've got on the list here is new music from Long Distance Calling. Now, if you're not familiar, Long Distance Calling, instrumental band. So there's going to be no vocals with this, of course. The new album, The Phantom Void, is going to be out April 10th. And it's also the band's 20th anniversary this year. So let's take this out, see what happens here. They're saying this is the shortest, hardest, and strongest album of their career, so they're feeling pretty optimistic about all of it and pretty proud of what they've got going on here. So let's see what we got here. So the first song here, The Spiral from Long Distance Calling. Buckle up. All right, I'm digging the beat on that. I'm digging the drive on it. I enjoy the moody atmosphere, and the video, the visuals really, I think, fit in nicely and enhance the music because it's got this mysterious vibe to it. It's kind of driving, but at the same time, it's got this kind of atmosphere of ominence. I think that's a word. Ominousness. I don't know. Ambient ominousness, ominence. I'm making up words now, but I enjoy that. It's got a bit drive to it, and what I like is there can be a tendency sometimes for instrumental bands to end up, I don't know, along the way, kind of sometimes sounding a little too samey, especially if they are more on the more metal edge of things, the harder edge of things. They're not doing that here, and I think that makes it interesting. And this is a strong runner for getting my vote. We'll see what happens there. All right, we're gonna move on next to Port Noir. Now that's a band I've had a hard time categorizing, mostly because I want to say that there's a hip hop flavor to it, but I don't think that's really it. I don't think that describes them very well, and I don't know how else to say it. So, but these guys are interesting, and they definitely have their own style. And I always dig somebody that's got a unique voice to them. So I am familiar with them. I've not heard the new stuff, if there's any. This may be the first one out. Fifth studio album's coming out, The Dark We Keep. That's going to be May 15th, and that's on Inside Out. So, Inside Out tends to seek the bands that have that prog flavor. So, again, I've had a hard time categorizing these guys, whether they were prog or more alt or something, but they are definitely their own band. So let's see. A bit of interesting tidbits about this. No. All right. Well, portrays a world caught in endless cycles of numb repetition. Well, hey, welcome to real life. That's how that works. So anyway, let's find out what we end up getting with this. Port Noir, the new song, Ebb and Flow. Buckle up. All right, well, that's interesting. They kind of caught me by surprise there. I'm describing probably music I heard maybe 2 albums back. I think it's possible I missed one in there. In fact, I'm almost certain I did in the and just the deluge of stuff that's coming my way most days. So I think I probably missed the middle album there, so I don't know what that sounded like. So I might be thinking 2 albums back, and I forget the title of it at this point in time, and I honestly can't think of any of the titles, but I remember the overall vibe, and this is very different from that. This is probably a little more straightforward, but I enjoy it. It's they lose a little of that uniqueness that I associated with them and was thinking of as I was describing them and introing this video. But I don't dislike this at all either. It just is less unique. But I enjoy it, and I think it's got a lot of potential here. It's nice and moody. It's got a nice kind of slow, fast tempo thing going on there, though it doesn't really have a huge difference. Quieter, louder, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, and I dig the singing, dig the vocals. Everything in there is really good. So, yeah, a couple of strong competitors already. Now we move on to a band I'm not familiar with, VLMV. Don't know what that stands for. I understand that one of the members just celebrated his birthday, according to that, but that new album, There Will Come Soft Rains, that's going to be out on April 24th. And they're talking about haunting melodies here. The title of the song is Bodies Grown, Part 1. Always cool when you got parts of songs and things like that. It's very proggy. Part 1 and 2 and 3 and all that stuff, various parts in a song, or not a song, but in an album. So they do their post-rock past with more progressively inclined musicianship. All right, that's interesting. I've got a tenuous relationship with post-rock. Let's be honest. It's a little too inactive in most ways for me, unless, again, there are things maybe I'm not understanding that are happening with the music, but a lot of it seems to be very slow, very ambient. So it tends to lose me a bit. So these guys, we'll see how they do with it. But let's check it out. VLMV, Bodies Grown, Part 1. just struck me. Are those Roman numerals? Am I supposed to know what those are? I don't remember what M is. Damn it. Anyway, it may be Roman numerals, which maybe makes more sense than what I said. Just dawned on me. Anyway, stray thought. Serpent? Okay, that's pretty much what I just described as being post-rock. We're like a minute in and nothing has happened that I can tell as far as really much going on. Let's skip ahead and see if something interesting happens along the way. No, not apparently much, and musically or visually. Okay, then. Moving on, Lorenzo Bedini, Amanda Lehman, and Friends. The song Do You Wonder? This one apparently was originally written to raise money for Amnesty International, initially to support the situation in Gaza. So definitely a socially conscious song that is dipping into some of the political quagmires that the world is facing in this day and age. And then the actions of Israel and the U.S. against Iran kind of derailed everything, apparently. So there we go. Yeah, so apparently this one has something to say about what's been going on in Gaza. And that's it. Probably the song will tell us more than anything else, but let's check this out. Do You Wonder from Lorenzo Bedini, Amanda Lehman, and Friends. I do not know who the friends are. It doesn't seem to say here. Let's see what's going on. Is this song really 10 minutes? It is.
Upon the air robes mourning of its dawn. No voice is heard, no one to care, her family all gone. The life she knew, the love she shared, promises withdrawn. No helping hand.
See, this here is sometimes the problem with progressive rock, and giving it a minute and a half listen is when it's a 10-minute song, that's your intro, and you don't really get an overall gist of the song. Sounds quite lovely, to be perfectly honest. Sounds, maybe a bit symphonic and stuff. So definitely interesting in that way, and probably something I'm going to want to check out. Not something probably that stands out in a way that I'm going to do a 10-minute reaction to it here now, though. That will make the video here run a bit long. So if you're interested in what you're catching on there, go for it. I may play a couple parts further up on there and see what we get out of it. And if you kind of notice my head change there, I had changed my setup here a little bit, and suddenly I realized that my original settings sort of made it look like I was looking the opposite direction of the video. So I corrected that in the midst of doing this, but I was paying attention. Let's give this another couple of minutes and see what goes on.
There's no one knows it all. Justify their cowardice. They're not the ones who fall and turn away.
Yeah, so this has all the promise of a pretty standard modern day prog rock song that definitely I want to check out in full at a later time. Just not going to do a full song reaction here now on this particular occasion because it just makes my whole video run too long. But it does sound like a very solid tune right about there. With, a lot of passion behind it and definitely some emotion I was hearing in those vocals, which I enjoyed. Though the lyrics I think are going to be probably heartbreaking. Let's move on here. The next one, Marley Davidson. It sounds like another motorcycle company. Song is Fragile or Fragile, depending on how you want to say it, or Fragile. It's Italian, of course. Scotland's answer to That Joe Payne. Now that intrigues me and certainly is confidence inspiring because I came to be familiar with That Joe Payne from Jordan Rudess's last solo album, and on an album with Jordan Rudess's name on the cover. That Joe Payne was probably the best thing happening there. His vocals were absolutely amazing, and Jordan really found himself a solid partner in putting his music out there. So he is a fantastic singer with a lot of range and nice, good, solid, clean, soaring vocals. He's also a pianist and singer-songwriter. So that's pretty cool. He's going to be opening the proceedings at Was Like Us Prog Fest. I've not heard of that one. Where is that? I need to look that up. Maybe it's something I can get to. I want to go to all these prog festivals, but I'm on the wrong damn continent, and it's hard to do because traveling costs some scratch. Anyway, shared his brand new single. It is called Fragile. And he's played with Life Signs, Justin Hawkins, The Corgus, Russ Ballard. Russ Ballard's still out there? Holy smokes. China Crisis, Emerald Dawn. They didn't mention Jordan Rudess. Jordan Rudess didn't make the list. All right, well. Sorry, Jordan. You weren't worth mentioning in that list of artists. Cool. So it doesn't mention, is there an album? It's its first digital-only release. Yeah, doesn't seem to be a thing here where there's an album attached to this. So we're getting in just a song, but hopefully, if he is Scotland's answer to That Joe Payne, I expect we're going to hear some impressive vocals here. So Marley Davidson, Fragile, buckle up, if I can hit the button. All right, two things. Getting getting killed by that prog rock intro length again. It took almost more than a minute before we even got the vocals, and all we heard were the pianos. Also, I kind of realized as I'm sitting there waiting for vocals to show up that I started cross-referencing that Joe Payne and Marley Davidson as I was talking about it and reading off the list of artists he's collaborated with and complaining that noting that Jordan Rudess wasn't mentioned. Well, Dave, because was for that Joe Payne, not for Marley Davidson. Give me a break. It's late. I am 2 White Russians in, and I'm just a little tired. All right. So I'm going to need to give this one a little bit more time, get a better idea of what's happening here with him. But I mean, right now, as far as what I've heard so far, yes, there's clean, soaring vocals, a little bit higher range than I remember that Joe Payne being, but good stuff. I'll skip ahead. Skipped ahead to no part with vocals. Yeah. Yeah, impressive stuff. I mean, it's lovely piano, lovely strings. It's got kind of this grand, one person on the stage with a grand piano kind of vibe to it. Very, what's the word I'm looking for? Crooner? Diva? No. Old standards? Maybe that's what I'm trying to think of. I'm picturing, though not male, but I'm picturing, back in the 70s, Streisand on stage in the gown, or somebody on there with the nice suit, or even a tux and all that kind of thing. The way they kind of used to do it back in the day. Old standards, I maybe is what I'm thinking of, but not top of my head what I call prog. He's got some prog cred out there, obviously, with the people that he's played with. But it's just one song, so I don't know the full body of his work, but impressive stuff. So very nicely done. And yeah, he sounds like he's a fantastic singer. All righty. Next, there's always got to be one band out there or artist that wants to challenge my pronunciation skills. I'm going to say this is Mabe, and I'm going to hope I'm right. They're apparently UK math rockers and recent winners of Tracks of the Week. I missed that when they were on there. I do miss weeks here and there. Matter of fact, I missed last week because I just got too busy with things. That's why I'm doing this one now. So, third album, Brain Paint. It's going to be out May 22nd. And this is another single from that upcoming album. So we're going to check this out. Obsessed with instrumental guitar music over half my life, but artists that have stayed with me have one thing in common: melody. That's interesting because on average, math rock and melody are not necessarily two things I think of that necessarily go together. So let's see what happens here. I don't know. Do we got? I don't know if there's a vocalist involved here or not because I am not familiar with this band. But hey, let's find out. So, is that really the title of the song? Lowercase song title. Okay. Missed that earlier on. All right. Mabe, lowercase song title. Let's get into it. Buckle up. right, pretty cool. So yeah, instrumental track. I was for some reason I was sensing that going in, but I wasn't really sure. I again not familiar with the band, just learning how to pronounce it. Well, pretending I know how to pronounce it. And so I wasn't sure, but I somehow had a sense. Cool stuff. Rhythmically, wow. That's some interesting and complex stuff going on there. It almost feels in my brain keeping up with it all. It was a challenge and it was interesting. And it also, to a degree, I almost like these guys are playing different time signatures or something, or very off the beat and very much doing their own things that are contrasting but flowing together somehow, still in the same way, or in a nice groove, or whatever you want to say. Yeah, but I dug that. That's pretty cool. It's got some fun stuff. So we've got a couple cool instrumentals on the slate this week. So we'll see where this goes. It's going to be a tough choice for me. I don't know if I've said that before. I think I probably have said that every time I've done this. So, gee, Dave, say something new. All right, moving on to another one that I know has been in here before because I saw them before and checked them out. They definitely were interesting to me as well. So let's see. It's going to be their fourth appearance with the Prog Tracks of the Week. These guys are from Berlin and Helsinki, art rock quartet, and they're going to release their debut EP, Look Up, and that's going to be on Inside Out Music. Inside Out has all the prog, just about. They do have a lot of it. So this is an ode to experimental songwriting, and they're describing it as raw, technical, and catchy. All right. So this then should be challenging. And Animal is said here by the band, a pledge of loyalty to the greatest rock songs of our time. Well, we getting a medley? I somehow don't think so. Let's see what happens here. So, Holosoil, and that is Animal. Buckle up. All right, these guys are definitely an interesting sound. They definitely are unique in my ears anyway, and I remember digging the last song of theirs I heard. Definitely, I don't know, there was a discussion I was having with my one chat group the other day about prog pop and defining what is prog pop. Is it a real thing? Is it a cryptozoological thing? Is it a cryptid? I don't know. This to me, definitely the tone of the vocals and the sounds and the musical instrumentation and all that they're using, the production very much speaks to pop for me. The playing and the composition is got all kinds of naughty, proggy things going on in it, and that to me is really very cool. Makes this very intriguing because on one hand, it's got that that pop sound to it, but I don't know, mostly because I maybe don't know enough pop. Somebody out there more familiar with it might say, "Hey, this sounds a lot like so and so." I have no clue. So that to me means at least this sounds unique in the way they've arranged it. It's very cool. It's very interesting. It's very different. And you know what? It's always kind of cool when you get some female voices in the sausage fest that is the progosphere. So yeah, digging this, enjoying that, and it's definitely one of the most unusual songs that I've heard on this week's list. So where does that leave us? That leaves us at the end, and I know it's coming up. I have to pick one. Good luck to me. I don't know where to go. So at least I can say this much. I will eliminate Lorenzo Bedini, Amanda Lehman, and Friends just for the sake of the fact that the song is going to be a bit long for me to want to do a reaction video to, on top of all that I've listened to already. So after that, let me look here. It's a tough choice. There's a lot of things I think that are pretty cool here that I would like to hear more of. And I think what I am going to do is, drum roll please. My choice is going to be, based on prior experience and wanting to know more, Port Noir, Ebb and Flow. And let's see where I landed, because I always seem to pick the least popular choices. Mabe was definitely one of those ones I almost picked. So I was pretty much on track with most folks, followed by Long Distance Calling is the next most popular. That could have easily been one I picked. And because I had eliminated Lorenzo Bedini, that's cool. Hollow Soil, okay, 1%. I didn't vote for them on this occasion. So at least somebody else out there besides me found that song to be very interesting. Maybe it's too poppy. Maybe it's, I don't know. It could be a category. It could be a case of the prog nerds gatekeeping just a little bit and saying, this doesn't fit traditional prog, and I do not want. On that note, I'm going to take a moment to plug more recent video, episode 2 of the Prog Council. Myself, Paul Zotter of the Progressive Palaver podcast, along with Diana and Moodhead of Trope, talking about that exact phenomenon itself, gatekeeping in the prog community. Are we sticklers? Are we too inclusive? Or actually not inclusive enough, too exclusive? Are we too insular? That's what I wanted to say at first instead of inclusive. Are we too insular, and do we chase bands away or keep bands out that don't fit the mold of what we think prog should be, whatever that is? So anyway, that was it. There's my plug. That's done. So I'm going to check out Port Noir. And I picked it because Mabe and Long Distance Calling and Port Noir for me were the three I was really going to pick from. Hollow Soil I have picked before, so I wasn't going to pick them based on that. No offense, guys. I did enjoy what I was hearing there. But Port Noir, a distinctly different sound than I remember from them. So for me, that means I want to check out the entirety of the song. We're going to start that over again. So here we are, Port Noir, Ebb and Flow, from the upcoming album, The Dark We Keep. Let's see. Back to this. Suitably melancholy, suitably darker, guitar intro with a bit of echo, a bit of atmosphere to it. I like. The one thing I'll say here is one thing I think I very much remember with these guys is the music I recall hearing very kind of groove based and all that, but they lead stylistically, compositionally, they seem to me to lead with their rhythm section. So it's not a surprise you get the gentle guitar intro, but then you've got the pounding drums and the heavier bass and all that stuff in there. And so there's that strong bottom that keeps them anchored and really defines the song. And it's kind of a stop and start thing there while meanwhile we've got the damn Facebook. All right, so back from the edit. Facebook suitably muted. And we're talking about the fact that the drums and the bass and the rhythm section, there's that definite rhythmic backbone going on there. But the vocals themselves continue to flow, and they are sort of moving at their own pace as a counterpoint to the drums and the bass and the rhythm. I like that bridge there. That was nice and active and charging ahead, and it moved away from what had been, again, very doom 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 doom, like broken up, almost triplets. I wasn't counting, so I'm just kind of going along the way and trying to conceptualize this while I'm talking about it. But I like there that you finally get to that part where it kind of flowed ahead, charged ahead a little bit without the start and stop. That instrumental section in there, as I was hearing it and thinking about it, really put me in mind of the more of there's definitely a metal feel to this, but more of a post-metal feel, a la Sleep Token. In many ways, it's not overly that's the word I'm looking for. It's not overly complicated in its composition and its instrumentation. It's not overly precious. It's not tons and tons of notes hitting you from all over the place. Nobody's trying to show off their virtuoso chops. Lots of hard pounding riffs and rhythms. And again, that evokes Sleep Token a little bit, but that's the only way in which I would compare these guys. A Sleep Token, for the most part, there's maybe a subtler hint of R&B, soul, maybe kind of flavor to the vocals that comes out a little bit here and there, but overall, not so much, not so overtly as is in Sleep Token. So I enjoy this, but if it's the virtuosity part of prog you're looking for in this song, it's not out there in front in the traditional way. I can't intelligently comment exactly on the complexity of everything I'm hearing here on the first go round. I will say I'm digging what the drummer is doing there. He's really doing some nice stuff on the hi-hat going in there if you're paying attention closely. There's still the snare and the bass and all that, but he's doing some interesting stuff there that is a little bit evocative of Stuart Copeland. All right. You know what? I quite enjoy that. That whether it meets all of the general qualifications as prog, I don't know. It certainly is not standard metal, but it certainly to me was quite enjoyable. I like the melody of it. I like the way it is arranged and played. There's a lot of moodiness in there. Vocals are solid. It's a good, solid song. And it's up to you to decide whether or not you think it fits in your world of prog. But in prog metal, yeah, I would absolutely be putting this in there with a lot of what's going on there. Definitely a different joint than what I was used to hearing from them. The New Routine was the last album that I had listened to, and I realized that's, Jesus, 7 years ago already, and I had missed an album in between their cuts in 2022. The New Routine was 2019. Definitely here, at least on this song, very different vibe than most of what I heard from the New Routine. So trying something different, they're evolving, they're growing, they're progressing, maybe. So I'm curious, who did you vote for? Who was the song you wanted to hear me listen to all the way through? Which one struck you as possibly the best one? Let me know in the comments. Put them down there. Tell me who you would have voted for. Matter of fact, don't just who you would have voted for, but go to Prog Magazine and go to this particular page. I will put the link in the descriptions. Go to it, listen to them all, vote for the one you want to. Participate in the process. That would be very cool. And then tell me who you voted for and who I should have listened to in your mind. Somebody out there tell me I am not the only one that kind of dug that Holosoil song. I know there was 1% of voters out there, but I don't know out of how many voted on the website. Somebody else out there enjoyed it. If you did it too, please put it in the comments. Validate my often off-kilter taste. And if you could, while you're busy doing that, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, follow along, hit the little bell thing if you want to be notified when I put up new content. We do have new stuff coming along the line. Of course, future episodes of the Prog Council, more interviews on the way, including Kjetil Nordhus. Pardon me, I shouldn't even try to say it without it in front of me. All right, Kjetil from Green Carnation. Nordhus. I knew it, but my mouth was well ahead of my brain. So forgive me, Kjetil. I will get it right when the video is out. Anyway, so that is all I have for you now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments when you get a chance. We'll see you next time. Until then, hang loose, never fear to deviate from the norm, and as always, keep it proggy.